Growing up in the 90s was an awesome time. You had grunge music, you had gangster rap, this and that, but there was one dude that really changed the game, and his name was Michael Bolton.
Tell me how am I supposed to live without you?
I'm kidding. We're talking about girl groups, so let's get to it. So who better to start us off than my favorite girl group of all time, the Spice Girls. Ginger, scary, sporty, posh, and Baby Spice. Those names would be huge in the mid-90s. When they dropped Wannabe, it spread like wildfire, and everyone knew what was going on. Girl power, the whole movement, like, and you know what's crazy? They only released 2 records, but they left such a huge imprint. I remember they released a movie as well at their popularity called Spice World. And in daycare at the time, we had the VHS and we would watch it constantly. As kids, we were all obsessed with the Spice Girls. Like, I remember watching that movie every day of daycare. Sadly, you can't really watch it anymore due to licensing issues, but if you can watch clips, if they're on the internet, I didn't really look. Do yourself a favor and check it out. It is such a funny movie for the 90s. For the 90s, it is a funny movie. Not at our standards of cinema now, but it's still a funny movie. But yeah, I didn't get to see him live. I didn't really go to concerts till I became a teenager. My favorite song of theirs is If You Can't Dance. That's off their first record. The beat was just nasty. It was badass. Even though there's like not that many lyrics. But yeah, they were definitely my favorite, but there were others that would pique my interest. So remember when we had cassettes? Maybe do, maybe don't. I remember this one girl group had a cassette that would be imprinted into my memory as of this day. So imagine a track starting with, some say people look some people say I look like me dad. Any guesses? Then it just bursts into this song called C'est La Vie. Yeah, man, I'm talking about Bewitched, the Irish girl group of the 90s. I remember having that cassette with their logo, and it was like a logo of a star and then their name, you know, how they spell it. I was obsessed with this song. I would have my mom play this song constantly in the car on that cassette. And it's the only song I listened to from them, you know what I mean? Like, I cannot tell you other songs. It was their most popular song. But I remember, you know, when I first heard the chorus, and I'll huff, I'll puff, I'll huff, I'll puff, I'll blow you away. Like, dude, that was like, I can relate, man. The Three Little Pigs. Like, dude, this is catchy as hell. They even had an Irish jig breakdown. And I was like, yo, what? Like, again, I was a young kid. I didn't know anything. So I was just like, these are cool. It's just, so, you know, anyway, they didn't have a huge catalog. I saw that they only did like 2 records. And they kind of just did their own thing in Ireland. They didn't really get that commercial success again. As the 90s, but you know, that song lives in my memory. Again, when I was thinking about this video, I remember that cassette like dude, it was imprinted in my head. So Bewitched, C'est La Vie. So now we're getting closer to the late 90s, around 98, 99. You know, girl groups are still prominent, but they were going to start phasing out at some point, you know what I mean? But there was just one group, maybe you can guess. Okay, maybe you can't. Destiny's Child. Yeah, they're a 90s girl group. Why? Because they had a record in 97 or 98. But I'm talking about their second album, 1999's The Writing on the Wall. I remember asking my parents for that album because, again, I was a radio kid. Everything was on the radio or MTV. And I had no idea who Beyonce was, Kelly Rowland, the other 2 ladies that are in the band, at the group at the time. But when I heard the record, like the opening track, the guitar-driven groove, sounded awesome to my ears. Again, I am 8 years old at the time. I have no idea what they're singing about. I don't have no bills. You know, there's no bugaboo for me. You know, I'm not jumping. The list goes on. I'm not the demographic, but in my ears, this was great. Like I said, when I heard bugaboo, like, come on, dude. I swear I felt like I was in the Upside Down. I was Kate Bush running up that hill. Now, I could go on forever because there were so many more, but these were my top 3 that are ingrained in my memory. It was a crazy era, man. They left such a huge impression, even though they did not have these huge catalogs of music. But I will tell you, and I'm honest with you on this, I do not listen to these anymore. I do not listen to any of their songs. This was definitely a product of the time. As you know, right now my music taste is vastly different than when I was growing up, but this still reminds me of that childhood time, growing up and hearing these songs. You know, hearing some songs from like childhood hits different, but it's also like I wish I could go back to that time and remember how I felt when I first heard a song. But anyway, I leave you with this one question. It's 11:30. Is the club jumping? But seriously, let me know down below, who was your favorite girl group growing up? It doesn't have to be from the 90s. That's just where I grew up in. But that's all I got.